So, you think you know what the palworld lawsuit is about? Most people hear palworld versus Nintendo and immediately picture Nintendo defending its cute monsters from the With Guns game that got a little too popular. But you'd be wrong. This isn't about character designs or copied artwork. This is about a legal strategy so aggressive, so technical, that it could choke the life out of game development for years. And the scariest part? Nintendo's done this before. They have a playbook, they've used it, and they've won. This isn't just about palworld. This is a battle for the very soul of creativity in gaming. When palworld launched in January 2024, it was an absolute meteor. It sold millions of copies in days, pulling in over 25 million players in its first month alone. That With Guns nickname, which started as a joke, perfectly captured what players were craving. A darker, survival-focused take on the monster taming genre. For months, the internet was a war zone of debates. Was it a ripoff? A genius parody? Then, in September 2024, the other shoe dropped. Nintendo and the company filed a lawsuit in Japan against the developer, Pocket Pair. Everyone braced for a fight over the visual designs of the pals. But the lawsuit completely sidestepped that issue. While the public outcry had been about copyright, Nintendo's official legal filing didn't mention it. Instead, they came armed with something way more obscure and potentially far more dangerous. Patents. They weren't suing over how the game looked. They were suing over how it played. The lawsuit is targeting 3 specific patents related to core gameplay mechanics: the system for capturing creatures, the way you ride them, and how you can switch between them. And the demand wasn't just for money. A pretty small sum of about 10 million yen, or under $70,000. It was for an injunction. They want palworld pulled from digital shelves, effectively erased. This was never about a payday. It was about sending a message. To get why this is so serious, you have to look at Nintendo's track record. This isn't their first time using patents as a weapon. The strategy they're deploying against Pocket Pair is almost a carbon copy of a case they won against another Japanese developer, Palworld, back in 2017. Palworld made a hit mobile game called White Cat Project, and Nintendo sued them over a handful of patents, including one for a joystick on a touch panel. Just like with palworld, Nintendo didn't care about the art or the story. They went straight for the mechanics. After a long legal fight, Palworld settled for around $30 million and had to license Nintendo's patents. It was a huge win that set a powerful precedent. Nintendo would use its mountain of patents to crush competitors over gameplay ideas. Now, let's jump back to today. The patents Nintendo is using against palworld were officially registered in 2024, after palworld was already out, but they were derived from earlier filings from 2021 through a standard legal process called divisional patents, which lets them be tailored to target a specific product. This likely explains why Nintendo waited. They were getting their legal ducks in a row before launching the attack. And just like in the Palworld case, they've started changing their patents in the middle of the lawsuit, in a move that legal experts have called weird, desperate, and a Hail Mary. Nintendo amended a key patent for riding creatures. They added vague and subjective phrases like "even when" to try and broaden the patent's reach, likely to counter Pocket Pair's defense. You don't take a drastic step like changing a patent mid-case unless you're worried your original patent is at high risk of being thrown out. It's a huge tell that this fight might not be going Nintendo's way. This level of legal maneuvering is what makes this case so much bigger than just one game. It's a preview of how massive companies could control the future of gaming. If you want to stay on top of how this all shakes out and what it means for the games you love, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. You're not going to want to miss what happens next. Facing down Nintendo, a lesser studio might have just folded, but Pocket Pair is fighting back, and their defense strategy is a masterclass in how to stand up to a corporate giant. They're hitting Nintendo's case from 3 different angles. First, and most importantly, they're arguing the patents are invalid. Pocket Pair's lawyers claim that the patents should never have been granted because of prior art, a legal term that basically means the ideas were already public knowledge before the patent was filed, and their list of prior art is a hall of fame of gaming history. They argue that capturing creatures, riding them, and calculating capture odds were all present in games long before Nintendo's 2021 filings. The list of games they're pointing to is wild. Monster Hunter, 4G, ARK. Survival Evolved, The Legend of Zelda. Titanfall 2, Far Cry 5, Final Fantasy XIV, and even Pocket Pair's own, older game, Craftopia. Their point is simple. You can't patent a common idea. You can't own a mechanic that the industry has been using for years. They're putting the very concept of a gameplay patent on trial. Second, they're arguing for not. Pocket Pair says that even if the patents are somehow valid, palworld still doesn't violate them. They claim Nintendo's patents describe very specific systems, like seamless transitions between mounts, that just don't work the same way in palworld. They're arguing that Nintendo is trying to stretch its patents way beyond what they actually cover. Finally, Pocket Pair has made strategic design changes. In response to the lawsuit, they've proactively tweaked palworld's mechanics. They removed summoning pals by throwing a sphere and changed how gliding works. These aren't admissions of guilt. They're clever legal moves to make palworld a moving target, making it even harder for Nintendo's lawsuit to stick while the fight continues. This isn't just courtroom drama. The verdict here will send tremors through the entire industry. This is where we see what the future of gaming might become. If Nintendo wins, the fallout could be chilling. It would cement the idea that big companies can patent common gameplay mechanics and use them to sue smaller competitors out of existence. Imagine a world where a developer can't use a double jump because someone else owns the patent, or a shooter that can't use a ping system. It would create a chilling effect where indie devs are too scared to innovate, fearing they might accidentally trip over one of thousands of vague patents held by a giant. But if Pocket Pair wins, if they successfully get Nintendo's patents invalidated, it would be a massive victory for indie developers everywhere. It would send a clear message that common gameplay ideas belong to everyone and can't be monopolized. A win for Pocket Pair could empower small studios to experiment and push genres forward, which is exactly what gamers want. It would be David finally beating Goliath, the indie upstart who delivered something fresh, standing up to a corporate giant that seems to be trying to patent fund itself. The showdown between Nintendo and Pocket Pair is about way more than one game. It's a landmark case that will redefine the rules of creativity for years to come. It forces all of us to ask some big questions. Where's the line between inspiration and infringement? Can a company truly own a way to play? Nintendo's aggressive patent strategy, especially that bizarre mid-lawsuit amendment, suggests they might be on shakier ground than anyone thought. Meanwhile, Pocket Pair is still pushing out massive updates and collaborations, signaling they're confident in their game and their legal fight. The final verdict is still a long way off, but one thing is clear. The gaming landscape is being reshaped as we speak. The real question we have to ask ourselves is, when the dust settles, will we have an industry ruled by patents and lawyers, or one driven by the boundless creativity of developers, both big and small?